A lot of the stuff that turns up on the internet and social media is basically gossip. And I think there are three stories which are of value when looking at gossip. The first one is the story of the Curé d'Ars, Jean Vianney, and he was a priest in the Catholic Church around about the time of the French Revolution. And he was famous for his confessional practice, and a woman went to him and people were queuing for hours to beside his confessional. And she eventually got in, and she explained that she'd been gossiping, and he said, "Oh, well, before we do the confession, can you possibly go out and go to the nearby village about 5 miles away, and could you pick up a chicken that the butcher is saving for me, bring it back, and on the way back, could you pluck it?" So she goes off, she gets the chicken, exactly as he says, she plucks it on the way back, she goes back to the confessional, kneels down, and the priest says, "Well, now, with regard to your gossiping, can you now go back to the butcher and pick up all the feathers you plucked?" And she said, "Well, that would be impossible." And he said, "In the same way, you can't stop the gossip that you've started." And I think that's a good salutary tale. And the second story is the one of Socrates, and he some friend of his. I don't know how true this one is, and I've never really come across the book where this is told. So it's just one of those stories which seems to have circulated, and because of course Socrates wrote nothing down. And Socrates apparently was visited by somebody who said, "Oh, I've got some juicy gossip." And the man asked Socrates if he'd like to hear it. And Socrates replied, before the man spoke, he needed to ask himself three questions. First of all, have you made absolutely certain that what you're about to tell me is true? And the man said, "Well, I don't know." And do you know whether it is good or kind? And said, "Well, no, I don't think it is, actually." Well, you see, and thirdly, do you think it is necessary or useful? Well, no, not really. So Socrates said, "Well, in that case, if what you're saying is neither true nor good nor necessary, probably best to say nothing at all." And the third point is something that somebody urged me to do a while ago. And I thought, actually, that's quite good. Not who has been gossiping, because, the Socrates point is perfectly reasonable. We don't really want to know who has been gossiping. If our friend has been gossiping and has got something horrible to say, learning that is simply going to make us feel uncomfortable about our friend. And in the same way as if we're the source of gossip, we have no control over its spread. But if there is a story going around about me, about somebody I know and care about, frankly, I'd like to hear it. I'd like to know. I wouldn't like people sort of trading that story behind my back, and I don't know that it's happening. And I think that's the issue with the internet. There's so much concern about, don't say this, don't say that. But actually, we do want to know what's going on. It's better to be forewarned and alerted to what's being said. So the fact that something is widely disseminated on Twitter and people are being very guarded here or elsewhere, this is just silly. It's just silly. We want to know. And I would say we don't want to be starting these rumours at all, but we do want to know what they are. And equally, do we want to know who has started these rumours? Do we want our friends to look bad? No, we really don't. We really don't. But I think those are three positions which I think should guide our interaction on the internet and in YouTube.